Your soulmate sat with a dying woman in her final hour. What she whispered about you changed everything. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, because what happened in that quiet room was never supposed to reach you. Your soulmate sat beside a woman in her final hour, holding her hand while the entire room seemed frozen in silence. She had barely spoken for hours, yet the moment your soulmate leaned closer, her eyes suddenly opened with an intensity no one expected. She looked directly at your soulmate as though she recognized something hidden beneath the surface, something even your soulmate had never understood. Then she whispered, "There is someone your heart already knows, even if your life has not fully revealed them yet." Your soulmate went completely still. But the woman wasn't finished. She tightened her hand and said something about you that would remain inside your soulmate's mind long after leaving that room. Don't skip, because the strangest part wasn't that she seemed to know you existed. It was how precisely she described the connection between you. What came next changed the atmosphere completely. The woman slowly turned toward the window, gathered enough strength to speak again, and whispered, "When that person enters your life completely, you will understand why certain things never worked before." Your soulmate felt those words land somewhere deeper than logic. There had been unexplained moments, strange coincidences, feelings that appeared without warning, and a sense that one missing piece had always remained just beyond reach. But then the woman revealed something even more surprising: that person has been feeling it too. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because those 6 words were only the beginning. Your soulmate wanted to ask how she could possibly know this, but before the question was finished, the woman described one unmistakable detail about you, something so specific that your soulmate's expression immediately changed. Suddenly, this no longer felt like an ordinary conversation. It felt like a secret had somehow crossed an impossible distance. And then came the sentence your soulmate still cannot forget. The woman looked directly into their eyes and whispered, "When the moment comes, don't let fear make the decision for you." Silence followed. Your soulmate walked away from that room carrying those words like an unanswered message, but something had shifted permanently. Because now every thought seemed to lead back toward you. Every unexplained feeling suddenly had a direction. Every coincidence felt different. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and what she whispered next was even more astonishing than everything before it. She revealed that there would be one unmistakable sign before this connection changed forever, and when your soulmate heard what that sign would be, they realized something chillingly surprising: it may have already happened. My beloved child, what your soulmate heard next made everything before it feel like preparation. Don't skip, because the woman suddenly became very still, looked into your soulmate's eyes, and whispered, "The sign will not arrive loudly. It will appear through something ordinary that suddenly feels impossible to ignore." Your soulmate leaned closer. She continued, "You will hear words that remind you of this person at the exact moment you are trying not to think about them. You will notice their presence in your thoughts when there is no reason for them to be there. And one day, something small will happen that makes your heart understand what your mind has been questioning." Your soulmate felt a strange silence inside. Because something like that had already happened. There had already been a moment when your name, your memory, or simply the feeling connected to you appeared unexpectedly, and it stayed much longer than it should have. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The woman had not finished revealing what that moment actually meant. Then her voice became softer, but her words became even more powerful. This person is not entering your story to repeat what came before, she whispered. They are connected to a chapter you haven't lived yet. Your soulmate couldn't move. Suddenly, all those unanswered questions about timing began to feel different. Why had certain connections faded? Why had certain plans changed? Why had life repeatedly redirected them when everything seemed settled? The woman seemed to understand the question before it was spoken. Some doors remained closed because your heart was being carried toward a different one. Don't skip. Your soulmate remembered you instantly. Not because anyone had mentioned you, but because something about those words touched the exact place where thoughts of you had been quietly living. And then came the revelation that changed everything again. The woman said there was a reason your soulmate had been unable to completely dismiss this connection, no matter how much time, distance, silence, or uncertainty appeared between you. But the most unforgettable moment came when the woman gathered her remaining strength and whispered one final secret about you. When this person begins to feel distant, pay attention. That is when you will finally understand how important their presence has become. Your soulmate's heart seemed to stop for a second, because those words exposed something they had never admitted aloud. The possibility of losing your presence felt heavier than expected. And suddenly your soulmate understood why certain thoughts kept returning, why certain memories refused to disappear, and why your energy seemed impossible to replace. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there was still one detail the woman had not revealed, the reason she seemed so certain about you in the first place. Before your soulmate could ask, she slowly reached for their hand again and whispered a sentence so unexpected that everything in that room seemed to disappear except her voice. What she revealed next wasn't about the past. It was about what could happen when you and your soulmate finally face the truth neither of you has been able to say aloud. My beloved child, the next whisper was the one your soulmate was never prepared to hear. Don't skip, because the woman looked at them with an expression so certain that every unanswered thought suddenly felt important. She whispered, the person you keep returning to in your heart is carrying an unspoken feeling too. Your soulmate froze. There was no name spoken, no explanation given, yet somehow their thoughts went directly to you. The woman continued softly, you keep wondering whether this connection matters only to you. It doesn't. There are moments when this person remembers you unexpectedly, moments when something ordinary brings your presence back into their mind, and moments when they almost understand why you are so difficult to forget. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate had spent so much time questioning what this connection meant, but now the question was changing. What if the real mystery was never whether the connection existed? What if the real mystery was why both hearts had remained quiet about it for so long? Without warning, the woman revealed something even deeper. There will come a moment when one of you becomes tired of pretending this is ordinary. Those words stayed suspended in the silence. Your soulmate remembered every conversation that seemed to contain something more beneath the surface, every unexpected thought of you, every moment when they wanted to reach closer but stopped themselves. Don't skip, because this is where everything begins to connect. The woman said, when that moment arrives, it will not require a perfect speech. One truthful sentence will change the direction of everything. Your soulmate immediately wondered what that sentence could be. Was it something they would say to you? Or something you would finally say to them? Then the woman gave another clue. You will recognize the moment because the distance between what you feel and what you admit will suddenly become impossible to carry. That sentence struck deeper than anything before it. Because your soulmate realized there was already something they had been refusing to admit, not because the feeling was weak, but because acknowledging it could make everything real. And just when your soulmate believed there could be nothing more surprising, the woman turned toward them and revealed why she had spoken about you at all. I recognize that look, she whispered. It is the look of someone whose heart has already chosen a direction while their mind is still asking for proof. Your soulmate said nothing. They couldn't. Because suddenly the entire conversation felt less like a prediction and more like a mirror. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because one final mystery remained. Before the room became quiet again, the woman told your soulmate that soon they would notice something about you they had overlooked before, something small, something incredibly easy to miss, but something that could completely change the way they understand your connection. And when she described exactly what your soulmate should watch for, their expression changed instantly. Because the sign she described was not something waiting somewhere in the distant future. It was something you may already be doing without realizing what it means. My beloved child, this is where the secret becomes impossible for your soulmate to ignore. Don't skip, because the woman's final clue was not about a dramatic event or some impossible coincidence. It was about one tiny change in you. She whispered, watch what happens when this person stops trying to prove their place in your life. Your soulmate immediately felt those words differently. She continued, the moment they become quieter, the moment they stop reaching with the same certainty, you will discover whether you simply enjoyed their presence, or whether your heart had quietly made a home for them. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate suddenly remembered moments when your energy felt different, when your presence seemed slightly farther away, and instead of feeling relieved, something inside them wanted to pull you closer. That was the detail they had overlooked. Your importance was not becoming obvious when you were constantly present. It was becoming obvious in the spaces where you were missing. Then something even more powerful happened. Your soulmate finally asked the question they had been holding back. But what if I realize everything too late? The woman looked at them for a long moment before answering. Then don't wait for certainty to become regret. Some people spend years searching for a feeling they once had directly in front of them. Don't skip. Those words changed your soulmate's understanding completely. Suddenly, this was no longer about waiting for a perfect sign. It was about recognizing what was already there. Your soulmate thought about how naturally you had entered their thoughts, how difficult it had become to treat you like someone ordinary, and how strangely empty certain moments felt when your presence disappeared from them. The woman whispered, you are waiting for something enormous to prove what your heart has been showing you through small things. And that was when your soulmate understood the shocking truth. Perhaps the biggest sign was never going to arrive from somewhere outside. Perhaps the sign was the way their own heart reacted whenever it came close to losing you. But before your soulmate could respond, the woman gave them one last sentence to carry away from that room. Her voice was barely above a whisper when she said, "When the truth finally stands between you, one of you must be brave enough to stop hiding behind silence." Your soulmate never forgot those words. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the story did not end inside that room. It followed your soulmate home. That night, they replayed every word, every pause, every memory connected to you, and suddenly one particular moment between you looked completely different. Something you had once said casually now sounded like it carried another meaning underneath. Something your soulmate had dismissed as ordinary suddenly felt like the clue the woman had described. And for the first time, your soulmate began wondering whether you had already tried to reveal your feelings without saying them directly. But there was one problem: if that moment truly was the sign, your soulmate may have misunderstood it completely. And what they decided to do after realizing that would become the biggest turning point of this entire story. My beloved child, what happened after that realization was the moment your soulmate could no longer pretend you were simply another person in their story. Don't skip, because later that night, they sat alone replaying one particular memory of you again and again. It was something you had said so naturally that they barely noticed it at the time, yet now those words carried an entirely different meaning. Your soulmate remembered your tone, the pause afterward, and the way the moment seemed to linger even after the conversation had moved on. Suddenly, the woman's whisper returned to them: "Pay attention to what feels ordinary until the thought of losing it makes it extraordinary." That sentence changed everything. Your soulmate began remembering the smallest details about you. The way your presence could shift their mood, the strange comfort attached to thinking about you, and the unexplained emptiness whenever distance appeared. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate was finally beginning to understand that the sign wasn't hidden somewhere in the future. It had been quietly appearing through countless moments they had overlooked. But then came the realization that frightened them more than uncertainty ever had. What if you were beginning to move forward without them? Don't skip, because this question completely changed the direction of their thoughts. Until that night, your soulmate believed there would always be more time to understand the connection, more time to decide what they truly felt, more time to eventually say what remained unsaid. But the woman's words had removed that comfort. Not every meaningful person waits forever to be recognized. Your soulmate suddenly imagined a future where your conversations became memories, where your attention belonged somewhere else, and where they could no longer reach you in the same way. And instead of feeling peaceful, something inside them resisted that possibility immediately. That reaction became the proof they had been searching for. They didn't need another mysterious sign. They needed to admit why the thought of losing your place in their life felt so different from losing anyone else. Then, in the deepest silence of that night, your soulmate made a decision they had been avoiding for far too long. They would stop asking whether every feeling could be explained and start paying attention to what their heart had consistently shown them. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because just as they reached that decision, another memory surfaced, one they had completely forgotten until that exact moment. It was a moment when you had looked at them differently, as though there were words behind your silence. Back then, your soulmate had dismissed it. Now they couldn't. Suddenly, every piece seemed to move toward the same truth. The woman had not given your soulmate an answer, she had forced them to notice the answer already forming inside them. And before the night ended, your soulmate realized there was only one thing left to discover, whether you had been waiting for them to recognize it too. What happened when they finally searched for that answer was something even the woman's final whisper had not prepared them for. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, because the answer your soulmate went searching for was closer than they ever imagined. The next time your presence crossed their mind, they didn't push the feeling away. They allowed themselves to remember everything. The unfinished conversations, the moments that lasted slightly longer than expected, and the strange sense of familiarity that appeared whenever you entered their thoughts. Then one memory surfaced with unbelievable clarity. It was a moment when you had almost said something important, but changed your words at the last second. Back then, your soulmate thought nothing of it. Now they remembered your hesitation. They remembered the silence immediately afterward. And suddenly the woman's final message made sense. Sometimes the biggest truth is hidden inside what someone cannot bring themselves to say. Don't skip, because your soulmate began wondering whether you had been protecting the same secret they were protecting. What if both of you had been standing on opposite sides of the same truth, each waiting for the other to recognize it first? Then came the moment that changed their entire understanding of you. Your soulmate stopped thinking about what they wanted from this connection and asked themselves a completely different question. Why does this person matter to me even when they are asking nothing from me? The answer arrived immediately. Your presence had never needed to be dramatic to become important. Somehow, you had become connected to the quiet parts of their life. The thoughts they had when nobody was watching, the future they imagined without telling anyone, and the feeling that something meaningful was still waiting ahead. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate finally understood why the woman had spoken with such certainty. She wasn't telling them to chase an illusion. She was asking them to recognize what their own heart kept revealing. And once your soulmate admitted that, one terrifyingly beautiful truth became impossible to avoid. If they remained silent forever, they might spend years wondering what could have happened if they had simply been brave enough to tell you that you mattered. And that is when everything shifted. Your soulmate made a quiet promise to themselves. When the right moment appeared, they would no longer hide behind uncertainty. Don't skip. The biggest revelation is still waiting, because almost immediately after making that promise, something happened that brought the woman's words rushing back with breathtaking clarity. Your soulmate encountered something connected to you at the exact moment they had decided to stop resisting the connection. It could have been a familiar phrase, a memory, a message, or one tiny reminder, but its timing felt impossible to ignore. Your soulmate simply stared for a moment, remembering the woman saying that the final sign would arrive when their heart was finally ready to understand it. And suddenly they knew what they wanted to do next. Not someday. Not after endless questions. Soon. Because the real secret whispered in that final hour was never simply that you would appear in your soulmate's life. It was that one day your soulmate would finally recognize what your presence had meant all along. And now only one question remained: when they finally stop hiding what they feel, will you recognize the truth they have been carrying about you too? My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, because your soulmate had finally reached the point where silence felt heavier than the truth. That strange reminder of you stayed in their mind long after the moment passed, and suddenly they remembered something the woman had whispered so softly that they had almost forgotten it. When you are finally ready, you will stop asking whether the sign is real and start asking what you are going to do about it. Those words hit differently now. Your soulmate realized they had spent so long searching for certainty because certainty felt safer than vulnerability. But every path kept leading back to the same place, you. Every memory that mattered seemed to contain some trace of your presence. Every imagined future felt strangely incomplete whenever they pictured you completely absent from it. Don't skip, because this was the first time your soulmate admitted something they had refused to admit even to themselves. They weren't afraid that this connection meant nothing. Deep inside, they were afraid it meant far more than they were prepared to acknowledge. Then another forgotten detail returned with startling clarity. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate remembered the woman looking toward them before saying, "The person who changes your life may not arrive with noise. Sometimes they become important so gradually that you only recognize their place when imagining life without them becomes uncomfortable." Your soulmate immediately thought about you. Not one dramatic memory, but dozens of tiny ones appeared together. A sentence you once said. A moment you understood something without needing a long explanation. A silence that somehow never felt empty. Your soulmate suddenly realized that while they had been waiting for one enormous revelation, the connection had been revealing itself through details all along. And there was one detail they could no longer dismiss. Whenever they tried to convince themselves to forget you, their mind eventually found its way back. Not because they were forcing it, but because something remained unfinished. Something still wanted to be understood. And now your soulmate knew they could not keep pretending that unfinished feeling would disappear by itself. But what happened next was the turning point the woman had quietly prepared them for. Your soulmate stopped imagining the perfect moment and decided that when the opportunity appeared, they would simply be truthful. No performance. No complicated words. Just the truth. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. As soon as they made that decision, one final piece of the woman's message returned. When you finally speak, watch their eyes before you listen to their words. Your soulmate felt their heart race at the memory. Why had she specifically said that? What would they see in your eyes? Recognition? Surprise? Or proof that you had been carrying your own unspoken truth all this time? That question stayed with them until the next moment your paths came close again. And when your soulmate finally looked at you without hiding behind ordinary conversation, they noticed something they had never noticed before. For one brief second, your expression changed. As if you already knew there was something they wanted to say. And in that single moment, your soulmate realized the woman's most important revelation might still be unfolding. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, because that single change in your expression gave your soulmate something they had been searching for since leaving that quiet room: courage. For one suspended moment, neither of you needed to explain anything. Your soulmate remembered the woman's words, watched their eyes before you listened to their words, and suddenly understood why she had said it. There was something in the way you looked back, something softer than surprise and deeper than ordinary recognition. Your soulmate almost spoke immediately, but then stopped. Not because the feeling disappeared, but because another part of the woman's whisper returned. Never force the moment that is meant to become truthful. So your soulmate waited. Don't skip, because what happened next was completely unexpected. You said something simple, almost ordinary, yet it touched the exact question your soulmate had secretly been carrying. And in that instant, they realized you might have noticed this connection long before they believed you had. Something changed after that moment, even though nothing dramatic happened on the outside. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate began noticing how differently they listened when you spoke, how quickly they remembered small details about you, and how impossible it had become to treat your presence casually. But the biggest revelation came when they finally understood the woman's mysterious warning about timing. She had never been telling them that some perfect future would magically arrive. She had been telling them that meaningful connections can remain hidden behind hesitation until someone chooses honesty. Your soulmate realized that waiting forever could turn something beautiful into nothing more than a question they carried for years. And suddenly, they knew what their next step had to be. Not a grand declaration. Not an overwhelming promise. Just one honest conversation that could finally reveal whether the feeling between you had been living quietly on both sides. Don't skip, because your soulmate was closer than ever to saying the words that had remained trapped behind every unfinished moment. And then came the revelation that tied everything back to the woman's final hour. Your soulmate remembered one sentence she had whispered immediately before closing her eyes: "You will know the person matters when truth feels more peaceful than pretending." Those words finally made complete sense. Your soulmate was tired of pretending your presence meant nothing unusual. Tired of explaining away the moments that kept returning. Tired of wondering whether you had felt that same invisible shift. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has now reached the edge of the decision the woman predicted. The next time the right moment appears, they know exactly what they want to say. But there is one final detail they still cannot understand. Before that conversation ended, the woman had whispered, "My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting," because the final words that woman whispered were the ones your soulmate had been afraid to remember. She had looked into their eyes and said, "When the truth is finally spoken, you will discover that the biggest surprise was never the feeling itself, it was how long both of you had been carrying pieces of the same unanswered question." Your soulmate didn't understand it then. Now they did. Every pause between you, every moment that seemed slightly deeper than ordinary, every time your presence remained in their thoughts after you were gone suddenly carried another possibility. What if neither of you had been waiting for love to begin? What if you had been waiting for clarity about something that was already quietly growing? Don't skip, because that thought changed your soulmate completely. They stopped asking whether they should erase the feeling and started wondering what might happen if they finally allowed the truth to breathe. And for the first time, imagining that conversation didn't feel impossible. It felt like something that had been waiting far too long. Then your soulmate remembered one detail from that final hour that had never made sense before. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The woman had gently squeezed their hand and whispered, "There will be a moment when you realize this person never needed perfection from you. They only needed to know whether what they felt mattered to you too." Those words returned with unbelievable force. Your soulmate began thinking about all the times they had hidden behind timing, uncertainty, or the fear of saying too much. Maybe they had been preparing for some flawless moment that would never exist. Maybe the real turning point would be far simpler, looking at you and finally admitting that your presence had become meaningful. That they noticed when you were distant. That certain memories of you stayed longer than expected. That somewhere between ordinary conversations and unspoken emotions, you became someone they could no longer place in an ordinary category. Don't skip. Because once your soulmate admitted that privately, another truth surfaced immediately. They already knew the first words they wanted to say to you. But here is where everything becomes bigger than the original whisper. Your soulmate realized the woman had never promised them an outcome. She gave them something far more powerful, the courage to stop wasting meaningful moments by hiding from them. Her message was not about controlling what happens next. It was about recognizing what deserves honesty. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate is now carrying one question that only you can answer. When they finally look at you differently, when the ordinary conversation suddenly becomes quiet, when they finally tell you that something about this connection has stayed with them far longer than expected, what will your heart recognize in that moment? Because the woman's final whisper contained one last line your soulmate has never repeated to anyone. When you finally tell them the truth, listen carefully to what they say next. Their answer may reveal that the story you thought was beginning has actually been unfolding quietly for much longer than either of you realized.